guest today is here at our university with a Fulbright scholarship, Dr. Cleopatra Charles, who is an associate professor in the School of Public Affairs and Administration at Rutgers University, New York. Professor, welcome to the studio. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Thank you so much for having me.
First of all, we have to discuss that. How did you get in touch with our university, with the University of Public Service?
So once I decided that I wanted to come to Hungary for my Fulbright, I went online and looking for schools where there were programs in public administration, because that is what my degree is in. And I found the National University of Public Service, and I was very interested in a university that is dedicated to public service, because that is really what I do in my school, is prepare students to take roles in public service, whether that is federal, state, or local government. We also have a number of students who want to work in nonprofit organizations or are already working in nonprofit organizations. So an entire university dedicated to public service was the most interesting thing to me.
And how do you feel yourself during this time here in Hungary and here in the university?
I am having a wonderful time. I am learning so much. I am learning what my colleagues are studying, what they're doing their research on. I'm learning a lot about the Hungarian budget situation. It was interesting to be here during the election period. So it's very exciting to be here.
Yeah, it is an exciting time indeed. As a budgeting scholar, what is your opinion right now about the Hungarian public finance situation? As you mentioned, it's a very truly an exciting period right now, as we had elections, and in general, it's a very interesting topic.
Well, budgeting is always interesting, right? And every country has their issues. We have our issues with our budget. And I think many of the issues, they are pretty much the same for most countries. You know, what does government provide for citizens? What services? How much of those services? And also how to fund those programs is always a big issue. And that brings us to taxes, right? Because most government revenue comes from taxes. So, you know, speaking, I am not by any means an expert on Hungary. I'm, you know, just learning from my colleagues and hearing from speaking to people. But many people are concerned about the debt that is outstanding, the debt that the government has outstanding. People are concerned about the amount of spending that was done before the elections. So that's what I'm hearing, you know, from the people I speak to.
And another very serious topic right now, of course, we have the current terrible situation ongoing in Ukraine, and we still haven't recovered from COVID, regarding, of course, the public finance topic. What are the greatest challenges right now, maybe for every country, in the topic of public financing?
So it depends on the country, of course. One of the things is that the U.S. does not import, a lot from Russia or Ukraine, but markets are all linked. So although we do not import a lot from Russia or from Ukraine, if the price of oil goes up in one country or in Europe, it will inevitably affect the price of oil and the price of gas everywhere, because commodity markets are linked. So I think that is one of the big issues, is the price of oil, the price of natural gas, the price of food. Inflation is also a big issue around the world. I think more so in the U.S. I think inflation is much higher in the U.S. than anywhere else. I think countries are concerned that they will go back into recession, you know, coming out of COVID and everything that brought. So I think another recession is a big concern for a lot of countries.
And yeah, and that will be the main solution, or like what should all the countries do? Of course, it's a little hard to answer because every country should do a specific interest and specific actions regarding their public finance and their national situation. But what do you think in general, what could be the solution for this terrible situation right now?
Well, I mean, what the Federal Reserve in the U.S. is doing is raising interest rates. And by raising interest rates, they're hoping to slow down the inflation. There is some concern, though, that might make the situation worse. Only time will tell. I think we're dealing with a situation that we have not seen before, you know, coming straight out of the pandemic and then straight afterwards having the war in Ukraine. The markets had not even recovered. We had supply chain issues that has not been, resolved, and that is getting worse right now because let us not forget, a lot of the world's wheat comes from Russia and Ukraine combined. Corn from Ukraine, a lot of the world's corn comes from Ukraine.
And also sunflower.
Yes. Ukraine also, we think about steel for construction, titanium, uranium, so the global market is concerned. Citizen confidence is waning, and that is always a bad combination because when people have no confidence in the market, they stop spending. And just when we're hoping the economy was going to start improving, if people hold on to their cash and stop spending it, that's going to create even more issues. The stock market is volatile right now. It just seems like the issues just keep compounding. And there's no end in sight to all the issues that started from, was it 2020? It's kind of difficult to
you're just starting to forget it. Like everybody just gets into the flow. Yeah. And for some light ending to this interview, we've spoke about your impressions about the university, but general regarding your impressions of Hungary. How do you feel? How are the people? What do you think about our culture? And yeah, basically this.
Okay. So I am taking Hungarian classes at the university, and my Hungarian teacher, she likes to say, "Magyar pessimista," that the Hungarian people are very pessimistic. And I would disagree with that. Just from my interactions with people, people seem to be optimistic of what the future holds. People are happy that we're leaving the pandemic behind us, we're moving forward. Of course, there is concern about Ukraine and how long this will last. But, I just find people are hopeful. People are friendlier than I thought they would be. One thing that I've heard is Hungarians can be very cold and unfriendly. And I would disagree with that. People are very friendly. I mean, although, when I say hi to people, in the streets in my neighborhood and I say, "Jó napot," they look at me a little, a little crazy before they respond. So I don't think people generally say hello when walking by each other in Hungary. But it's something I do, and so it's interesting. I love the food. I've had so many different types of levesh that I didn't know that you could make so many different types of soup. And I like coffee. I like the pastry shops. I'm enjoying the culture, the history. There's just so much history here. When you think about how young the United States is and how old Hungary is, it's kind of mind-boggling that Hungary was there all of these hundreds of years ago. I think when people from the Western side of the world, maybe I should say Americans, when people think about Hungary, I think most people think about Hungary like communist era, post-communist era, and don't think that, there was a lot, that happened before this communist. There's a lot of history way hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and I think people do not think about that. And something else, at the Fulbright orientation, we had a presentation on Hungarian inventors, and it was surprising to see so many inventions, so many things that we take for granted, that Hungarians had a hand in the invention. Lots of things that I didn't know about. Fountain pens,
Yeah, there are so many things that people can learn from each other's culture. Professor,
Yes.
thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.
And dear audience, thank you so much for your attention as well. Stay with us next time. Goodbye.